Welcome to week 3 of Ripple Ashtanga Yoga. So, today we're going to go over some philosophy, just really briefly introducing you to it. And we're going to go over some of it deeper in like further different classes. So, today we're just going to again give like a brief overview of the philosophy of Ashtanga. And then on the mat, we're going to learn utthita trikonasana and utthita parsvakonasana. So triangle pose and side angle pose. They're the next in line for the standing sequence. But I just wanted to, again, briefly go over some philosophy in Ashtanga yoga. So Ashtanga yoga is usually categorized under Raja yoga or royal yoga. And it's because it's much more than just like the practices that we do on the mat. It's like a whole kind of like lifestyle. And so I feel like there's always something to learn and practice in Ashtanga. And so Ashta in Sanskrit means eight. And so Ashtanga yoga is the eight limb path. So there's these eight different limbs that we are practicing and utilizing in our lives. And everything that we do on the mat, like all the poses, right? The postures, the vinyasas, just all the movement that we're doing on the mat is the third limb, which is asana. So that's just one of the eight. So the first limb are the yamas, which are like these moral principles that we live by. And I kind of think of it too, like how we interact with like others and like how we interact with like the external world. And there's five of them, and we'll dig deeper into the yamas in the next class. But just know that there's five of them, and they're like these moral principles. And then we have the second limb, which is um, niyama. So there's five niyamas, and these are like our personal disciplines. So again, they're kind of like more personal than the yamas, which again are like kind of like our conduct or our moral principles and how we interact with others. And then the niyamas are like these personal disciplines that we utilize. And then again, third is asana, which is everything that we do like on the mat. And then we have pranayama, which is like breath control. So prana means like life force energy, which right breath is. And then yama again are like these constraints, um, disciplines. And so it's learning how to control the breath. And so what we do on the mat, we're starting to tap into pranayama, right? Because once you understand where like your body is placed and how you're moving in and out of different postures, and once you're comfortable with that, again, you really start to focus on the breath. And so you're starting to control the breath on the mat in our practice, because you're controlling, like, okay, I'm going to inhale here, I'm going to exhale here. So you're starting to kind of get a taste of pranayama through what we do on the mat. There are other pranayama techniques, and we'll go over like just some really basic ones today at the end of class. Then we have pratyahara, which is the fifth limb, and it's like withdrawal of the senses or like going inward. And um, I kind of think a lot of these kind of like lead into the next, right? So again, from our asana practice, we're starting to tap into pranayama. And I think through both of those, you start to tap into pratyahara, especially if you're sitting and doing like a seated pranayama practice, right? Your eyes are usually closed, you're controlling the breath, but in doing so, you're starting to really go within, right? And like, again, closing your eyes, not looking externally, you start to focus on the sound of the breath. So you're really starting to withdraw from like the external, like, world, and go within. And then we have the sixth limb, dharana, which is like a one pointed focus or a concentration. So, again, in these things, we're also starting to tap into that. So, when we withdraw, we go in, and it's like, again, like a one pointed concentration. And even on the mat, again, once you are comfortable with where your body's placed, you're really confident then and you're breathing correctly, right? You're inhaling when you're supposed to inhale, you're exhaling when you're supposed to exhale. Then you can start to focus on like the dristi or the focal point, right? And again, a lot of times it's at the tip of our nose, like we've talked about. Sometimes it's the toes, sometimes it's the thumbs, um, but it's still like you're really trying to bring your focus to one spot at a time. And so that's the next limb, is really having like a one pointed um, concentration or focus. And we'll also do like a really simple exercise on that at the end of class. But all of that leads us to the seventh limb, um, which is dhyana, meditation. And it said that the whole purpose of yoga, right, the whole purpose of postures and doing all of these practices to really like um, stretch and clear the body, is so you can prep the body for meditation, so that you can sit comfortably for longer periods of time in meditation. Like meditation is definitely one of the goals. But then we have the eighth limb, which is samadhi. And that is like, some people call it enlightenment or salvation. I like to think of it as like bliss. Um, and a lot of people say that this is the goal. And I agree with that. I guess the way I see samadhi is, it's a goal, it's the goal, right? But I think that it's not some state that you live in forever. I think being humans and, being in the world as we are, especially in like our culture, I think samadhi, it comes and it goes. And I think like, yeah, it's just these moments of pure bliss. And for my deadheads out there, I've talked to other deadheads and we agree that there are moments like that that you feel at a show. I have one that I can think of that was like really, really strongly in alignment with what I believe samadhi is, and then a couple of like little glimpses of it here and there. But like one time where it was pretty profound. And so I think that happens there, and I think it can happen at any time in your life, right? And I think these practices, Ashtanga yoga, but asana, pranayama, pratyahara, meditation, like all of these things, I think if you practice them consistently, you have a better chance at having these moments of samadhi. And so maybe it is like this goal that you do reach the state where you're always blissed out because you're doing all these practices and you can stay in that bliss longer and more frequently. Um, but I think samadhi is available to everyone. I think, again, it's just the amount that you put in, I think, kind of dictates like the amount of samadhi that you get to experience. Um, that's just kind of my take on it all. So that's just a really brief overview of the 8 limbs. And again, we'll kind of dig more into them in future classes, and we'll do some exercises today too to really tap into some of them. But I'd love to hear like your feedback, what you kind of think. Um, if you've been practicing these or studying these or experiencing any of these without even practicing, or just what your experience is, I would love to hear about that. So again, that was just a really brief overview, but we're going to jump right onto the mat because I want to have some time to practice some pranayama and some other like meditation techniques at the end of class today. So we're going to go right to the mat. So again, today we're doing utthita trikonasana A and B, and then utthita parsvakonasana A and B. So like always, I'm just going to hop on my mat. I'm going to show you what it looks like, the way that I do it, and then I'll break it down step by step and give some modifications. And then, yeah, you can kind of decide what's going to work best for you. And then you just add that right on to what you've been practicing. And so, just a reminder, so far in the practice, we learned Surya Namaskar A, right? That's the first thing that we do. And the goal is 5 of those. But go at your own pace. If you can only do 2 or 3, that's okay, right? But the goal is to get up to 5 of those. And then we do Surya Namaskar B. The goal is to get up to 3 of those. But that comes right after A. Um, you should be doing the 3 closing ones every single time you practice. So if you're only doing Surya Namaskar A, I would still end with the closing 3. So get to know those, get comfortable with those. Then we have Surya Namaskar A, B. Then we got to Padangustasana, and then Padahastasana. And then these come right after that, okay? Okay, so again, if we're in the sequence, we just finished Padahastasana, and then we come back to Samastitihi. So then this is what comes next. Okay, so now we're just gonna break it down. So you can go ahead and stand up and do this right with me. So again, first we're doing utthita trikonasana, triangle pose. So again, we end Padahastasana. We come back into Samastitihi. So we're just standing tall at the top of our mats. And we're gonna open up to the right side. So you're opening like over your right shoulder. And I do like a weird little hop, and I don't know why, but I bring my arms like this and then I jump. But you can either jump out or step out just like that. So let's just step out together to start, and then you can work on jumping out eventually. But basically, you're just going to bring your arms to like a T and step out on the inhale. And like lengthwise for our stance, I kind of think about this, right? So it's triangle pose. So we're doing a lot of triangles here. So I kind of think of it as like an equilibrium triangle where like the space between your feet is about as tall as like from like your ankle or your foot to like up to your hip. So like pretty like evenly spaced here, okay? So And remember, arms are out into like a T. So like throughout all of this, our arms are pretty straight out, okay? So inhale, step out. And then both feet, like, right, this is our new front, right? So both feet are facing the front. But right at the end of the inhale, you're going to turn your right foot out so that your toes are all the way to the back of the mat. And if you can see here, basically, if I was to bring my feet in together, the heel of my foot is right in at like the middle of my left foot, okay? So they're very much like this. So inhale, and then you turn your foot out. And you try to keep your hips still straight, facing like front, pretty even. Obviously, it's going to change a little bit because your right foot is out, but you're trying to keep them pretty much to the front, okay? So that's all the inhale. Then on the exhale, I keep my hips where they're at. I lean a little bit to the right, and then I go down. See how my arms are staying long and like a T? And I grab my right big toes. It's the same as we did in parsvakonasana. So you have like your middle and your pointer finger. They go around your toe and you kind of like hold them with your thumb like that. So same as parsvakonasana, okay? So that's all the exhale. But again, notice how like my arms stay in this T, okay? Here's another thing you can do. If that's hard for you to do and you can't quite reach your foot without bending your legs, because having straight legs here is very important. You can grab a block if you have a block, keeping your arms straight so that you can rest here. If you have tight hamstrings, and again, it's hard for you to reach down like this, you can get a block and kind of play around with it, right? You can start here as the highest. You can do it like this, move it here, and eventually slowly make your way down. Or don't use a block and just, you can always just bring like your arm to like your knee or your shin. But the goal is to eventually get to your toes. Okay. So inhale, turn the toes out. Exhale, lean, reach down for your toes. See my arms and my legs are all straight. And then I'm going to turn my neck to look up at my left thumb. I look at my thumbnail, and we take our 5 breaths here. After the 5th breath, we exhale, and then we inhale, and you push back. So you start putting more weight into the left foot, and you push yourself back up. Arms are staying straight. You turn those toes back to the front. Same inhale, you're going to turn your left toes out. Exhale to lean and grab on the other side. So you're grabbing your toes. Arms are staying straight, legs are straight. And then you're going to turn your head and look at your right thumbnail. And we're going to take 5 breaths here. Okay, and then after the 5th exhale, you're going to use your core and inhale, come back up to center. Okay, so that's Utthita Trikonasana A. From here, right, so we just inhale to stand back up and turn the left toes back to the front. Then we're going to turn our right toes back like we did the first time to the back of the mat. But this time, instead of keeping our hips forward, we're going to turn our hips to the side because we're going to be doing like a big twist, okay? So we inhale, turn the left toes and turn the hips. Arms, again, are staying in this T as we twist to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring our left hand here And we're gonna twist and bring the left hand to the outside of the right foot. So like my left pinky is touching the pinky of my right toe, okay? So it's like lined up right against that. Turn, 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 twist. And my arms are still trying to stay straight. And then again, bringing that left hand to the outside of the right foot. And if this is where you feel like enough of a stretch, you can keep looking at your hand, but the goal is to then turn your head and look up at the right thumbnail. 5 breaths here. And again, if you need that block or you need to bring your arm like up here, go ahead and do that for now, but always working on trying to get the full expression. Okay. After the 5 breaths, the last exhale, you're going to turn your head and look at your foot. And then we're going to inhale back to center. And so again, a lot of these, like coming back up, inhaling back to center, you're really engaging your core, trying to keep, right, like your limbs straight. So let's go back down into this. Let's just try the inhale. Still inhaling as we turn, and then exhale as we twist and lower down. Again, looking up at that right thumbnail. Okay. After the last, on the exhale, the last breath, we turn our head down to look at our foot, and then inhale, engaging that core back up to center. And then we're going to exhale on the other side. So we're inhaling to turn, exhale to twist, and now we're bringing our right hand to the outside of our left foot. Twist your back, twist your neck to look up at the left thumbnail. 5 breaths here. After the last breath, you exhale, look down at your hand and your foot, and then inhale here, and then exhale, we jump or step back to Samastitihi. Okay, so yeah, again, I think the biggest modification there is just utilizing a block if you need to. Or not going all the way to the ground and just bringing like your hand to like your shin type of area. I think a block is really nice if you have a block or can find one, just because you can kind of put your weight, like you can like push down into it, which is nice, where you can't really push into anything when your hand is on your shin. But again, always trying to get to like the floor. So that is Utthita Trikonasana A and B. Again, triangle pose, revolved triangle pose. So now we're going to jump into utthita parsvakonasana A and B. So it's very similar as trikonasana, where there's the 2 sides and then we're twisting to both sides as well. Okay, so for this one, so again, right, we just did our trikonasana, so we end per usual in samastitihi. So we're going to take a big inhale. We're going to open up to the right side again, right? So over the right shoulder. But this time we're going to take a bigger stance. So remember, in triangle, it's kind of like that equilateral triangle. For parsvakonasana, it's a bigger stance. So inhale. Again, on the same inhale, you turn the toes, the right toes, just like you did. But this time you're going to like lunge into that. You're going to bring your right hand, so like the thumb of your right hand, to the outside, the pinky side of your right foot. So go ahead and set that down. Feel there's like 3 points now touching the ground, right? Both your feet and your hand. You're going to lunge into this leg, and then you're going to bring the arm. Let me move back into the camera a little bit. Okay. Then you're going to bring your arm over your head. See how there's this like nice side angle here. And then you twist your neck a lot and you look at your left fingertips. After 5 breaths, we're going to inhale, turn those toes in again. Okay. So this one can be a lot. So I think, let me just see how this would go. If that is a lot for you, you can bring your knee down for now and stretch, because you're still getting like this big stretch in like your serratus muscles. And then when you would stand back up, if your knee is down, you'd curl your toes, push into the foot, and then inhale back up. So see if you can do it the first way. If that's just a lot for you, again, go ahead and drop that back knee, the one that's not in like the lunge. It'll get you like just more steady, stable, but again, you can still get that stretch there. Okay, so then we inhale, we're back up here. Remember, wide stance. And then we're just going to exhale and do the other side. So we inhale, turn the right toes in, turn the left toes out, and then exhale, lunge into this side. And again, we're bringing that left hand now to the outside of the left foot. So thumb to pinky. Lunge. Get set up with your legs and your feet, and then reach the arm overhead. And again, turn your neck, looking up at the right fingertips. 5 breaths. After the 5th breath, inhale, turn the toes. Okay? Now from here, we go into the revolved side angle pose. So we just stood up. Inhale, we're going to turn the left toes. Then we're going to twist like we did in trikonasana, right? But we're still in a wider stance. But we're going to turn like we did in trikonasana. Okay, so this is a big twist. Then you're going to bring your left arm and you're going to bring the hand on the outside of the right foot. So you twist all the way, bring that hand by the side of the foot, lunge into that leg, and then bring the arm over your head, looking up at the right fingertips. Okay, so that can also be a lot. If that twist is too much for you, you can try this, right? So we're inhaling, coming back up, turning the toes. You can bring your hands into like prayer. So prayer, lunge into that front leg, and then bring the left elbow to the right knee. So exhale, lunge, and twist. If you decide to do this, again, your elbow rests on your knee. But since your hand's not overhead, you're going to look over your shoulder to get a deeper twist. If that is all still too much, you can drop that back leg again. So if you need to drop that knee, right, get stable, then bring your arms and twist. Still looking over the right shoulder to twist deeper. If you're in this, I would bring your hands to the ground, come back up onto your foot. Inhale up. If you're doing the full expression, so see how I like really bring my elbow in as I'm twisting. So I want to get the twist in there first. So I'm really bringing that elbow past my knee, twisting a bunch, and then I bring my hand to the ground Get that nice and steady, and then bring my hand over the side. Again, getting that big side angle stretch is really the point of this. So looking up at the right fingertips. On the 5th exhale, you can go ahead and look at your foot. And then you're going to inhale, arms up. And then we're going to do the other side. So we turn the right toes out. Twist, 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 bringing now the right elbow and shoulder past the left knee. Twist. I like set my stomach on my leg. Twist. Then set that right hand on the outside of the left foot. Sink deeper into that leg. And then bring the left hand overhead, looking up at the left fingertips. 5 breaths. After the 5th breath, exhale, look at the foot. Inhale. Exhale, Samasthiti. And so if you do any of those modifications on the first side, definitely replicate them on the second side, right? So you'd be twisting the other way, looking over the left shoulder. If you need to bring the knee down to feel more steady in that, so you can twist. But again, the whole point of side angle stretch is to get those arms over so that you're getting this big stretch in your side. So if that's too hard for you now, definitely use those modifications. But every once in a while, check back in with yourself and see if you can push yourself a little further to like the full expression, okay? Let's just do those two together. We won't go through the full, well, maybe we will. Okay, let's just do those two together though and see how that goes, okay? So again, we're gonna start in Samasthiti. Exhale, inhale, open up to the right. Turn the toes out. Exhale, lean. Go down, grab the toes, keeping the arms straight as if you're holding like a big stick between them. Looking up at the left thumbnail for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale back up to center. Turn the right toes back in. Turn the left toes out. Exhale, lean and reach for the left toes. Looking up at the right thumbnail. 1, 2, straight legs, straight arms. 3, 4, 5. Inhale back up to center. Turn the left toes to the front. Turning the right toes out, twisting. Exhale, bringing the left hand to the outside of the right foot. Twist your upper body a little more and look at the right thumbnail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, look down at your foot. Inhale, back up to center. Turn the toes in, face the front. Turn the left toes out. Turn, twist, exhale, bringing the right hand to the outside of the left foot. Twisting the upper body, turning the neck, looking at the left thumbnail. 1, 2, keeping straight lines. 3, 4, 5. Look down at your foot and inhale up to center. Exhale, Samasthiti. Okay, parsvakonasana. Inhale, big step out to the right. Turn the right toes out. Exhale,
Lunge into that leg. Right hand comes to the outside of the right foot. Left arm goes overhead, straight overhead. Turning your neck, looking up at the left fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale back up to center. Turn the right toes in, left toes turn out. Lunge into that left knee, left hand on the outside of the left foot. Right arm comes right overhead. Big side stretch, looking up at the right fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, push into your legs, back up to center. Toes come in. Right toes turn out, twisting your body. Twist, twist, twist. Left hand comes to outside of the right foot. Right arm over your head. Looking at your fingertips. 1, 2. Try and twist even more if you can. 3, 4, 5. Looking down at your foot. Inhale, up to center. Exhale, left toes turn out. Inhale and then exhale, twist, twist, twist. Right hand comes to the outside of the left foot. Left arm overhead, looking up at your fingertips. 1, twisting your neck, your torso. 2, 3, 4, 5. Look down at your foot. Inhale to center, turn the toes to the front. Exhale, Samasthiti. Good. And those are some of my favorites. They're early on in the sequence, and they're the first times I get some like really good like pops in my spine. I think all the twisting, right, kind of like works out some of that for you, like feels so good. Yeah, so those are those two. Again, if you need to go back and rewatch for modifications or for cues on anything, go ahead and do that. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to count us through. So this is what I did for the live class. We did 3 Surya Namaskar A's, 1 B, Padangustasana, Padahastasana, utthita trikonasana, utthita parsvakonasana, and then the closing 3. And so I think we're going to do that. I'm just going to count it out for you. I'm not going to do it with you. Again, if you are to this part, to this class, you should know the other things by now. And so I'm just going to count it for you. And you can follow along. Just lower this. And then at the end, we'll have a few minutes to do some pranayama and some like really, really entry level sort of meditation techniques. Okay. Actually, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to skip that. And I'll make another video of just the count up to this point. So if you want to do the practice up until this point, I'm going to, I think, quarterly, I will do like a separate video of just counting so that you can follow along with that if you want to do that. I'll post that soon. So I think we can just get right into just some really basic pranayama and meditation. Okay. So again, for pranayama, right, it's nice if you close your eyes because you can start to tap into that pratyahara, right, the withdrawing of the senses. So we're going to go ahead and close our eyes. And I just want you to take some moments to just focus on like your natural breath. So before, I mean, I know we did some mat work, but before we really dive into controlling the breath and slowing it down, I want you to just observe your natural breath as it is in this moment. So just notice things like the quality of the breath. Do you feel like you're inhaling a full breath? Do you feel like you're able to exhale and let go of everything? Does one maybe feel easier than the other? What do they sound like? How fast or slow is each inhale and exhale? Does it change with every breath cycle or does it stay mostly the same? And then wherever you're at in your breath cycle right now, we're all going to inhale together and then exhale to fully release and let go of the entire breath. And we're going to inhale together to a count of 5. Exhale for 5. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now we're going to inhale, but we're going to extend that to 7. So think of like bringing in less air over a longer period of time. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. This time we're going to hold the breath in at the top. Hold. Exhale for 7. And we're going to hold the exhale out at the bottom. So hold it out. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold out. Inhale. Hold. Exhale.
hold out. Inhale, and just return to your natural breath on your own. And now we're just going to continue with pranayama, we're going to do just some alternate nostril breathing. So to do that, we take our hand and we lower down our pointer and our middle finger so that we have like this kind of thing going on with your right hand. Then you're going to turn it so like your palm would be facing your face. And we're going to use this basically to block off our nostrils. So our thumb is going to be covering our right nostril. And then our ring finger then will cover the left nostril. So we're going to just do some kind of back and forth like this, okay? And we're going to still use that, like the holds, or as they're called, kumbhakas. So we're going to breathe through different nostrils. I'll guide us. And then we're going to do the 4-part breath though. So again, the inhale, the hold, the exhale, the hold. Okay. So just get your hand ready. Kind of like feel where they're going to block your nose. Okay. We're going to exhale together. Close your eyes. We're going to cover the right nostril and we're going to inhale through the left. We're going to hold. We're going to exhale through the left. Hold it out. Inhale through the left. Hold. Exhale through the left. Hold out. Inhale through the left. Hold. Exhale through the left. Hold it out. And now you're going to release the right side and you're going to cover the left with your ring finger. And we're going to inhale through the right. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale through the right. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. And now we're going to cover our right. We're going to inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Exhale left. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Exhale left. And then you can lower your hand, bring that back to your knee, and just resume your natural breath. And just observe again. Notice any changes from the way that your breath was before we started. We'll just stay in this state of pratyahara, where we're withdrawing from the senses, keeping our eyes closed, our focus inward. I think the alternate nostril breathing really preps us for this next little technique. So we're just breathing on our own natural breath. But I want you to just bring all of your focus to your nostrils. All of your focus to just both nostrils where the air is entering and exiting. And just observe and notice that spot or those two spots. When you inhale, do you notice one side is inhaling or bringing in more air than the other? Or is it pretty even? And does that stay the same for every inhale, or does it change every time you inhale? And notice the temperature of the air as it enters. And then notice the quality of your exhales. And same thing. Are you able to release more from one side over the other? Or is it pretty even? And does that change every exhale, or does it mostly stay the same? And notice the temperature of the breath as you exhale. And as you bring your focus again, really fully on the point of the nostrils, try and focus even more and pinpoint that focus to the exact depth and location of where air becomes external and becomes like internal. And with the exhale, where the breath comes from internal, goes external. Try to really hone in and pinpoint that exact spot. And if ever the mind wanders away or thoughts come in, that's fine. Just let them float away, bring your mind back to that spot where there's that air exchange in the nostrils. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, bringing right awareness back to your senses. Um, yeah, that's just a really simple, maybe not always easy, but simple technique to again really hone in on the pratyahara and the dharana, right? Going inward and having like a one pointed focus. And if you do that consistently, you will eventually get into the flow and the state of meditation. Um, that's what I personally use to help me get into meditation. Um, I'll usually start with just a bunch of like gratitude, and I'll also kind of a one pointed focus. I'll just repeat, thank you, 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 thank you. And some days that's enough. Some days I'll like express like specific things that I'm really grateful for. Um, but after that, then I really focus just again in that, like, I try to pinpoint the exact spot where the air is coming and going. Um, and that just gives you something like tangible to focus on. And I think some days are easier than others. I think some days it feels like I'm able to tap into meditation and it feels really nice. And there's some days where I just can't, but I always give it a try every day, regardless. I think that's kind of where the sweet spot is for both right on the mat yoga practice and meditation and all of this. Um, if you're going to do it every once in a while, okay, right, it'll be nice for that day, but I don't think you're going to get some of these like longer term effects or these like repeated experiences of samadhi. But any is better than none, right? But I think it's kind of, I think of it in the same way of like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once a month, once a week, it's still good, right? It's going to feel good, but you're probably not going to get the results that you want. So um, even the days where it's not easy, or again you don't get into like a meditation flow, like that's okay. I think it's the effort and the consistency that matter the most. So um, yeah, just some things you can try, and you don't have to do a full on the mat yoga practice to practice some of these other techniques. So that is all I have for you today. Like I said, I'll make a video of like the count if you want to start putting the full thing together, or if you are able to do that on your own, even better. But that's it for today. Thank you.